I always felt so grateful that the show had found, I'm going to say, sisterhood and fraternity and
Mm,
companionship
yeah.
fairly early on with the LGBTQ plus community, that there was a natural affinity and affection.
Thank you for chatting with me today, and congratulations on season 3.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Well, I'd love to begin by talking a little bit. I think there's a theme throughout all the storylines of these kind of shifting careers, and we even see Carrie in a new space trying out some fiction. Would you talk a little bit about that and where you think that comes from?
I think what I discovered in just talking, sorting it out with Michael Patrick was
Yeah.
it wasn't an expectation. It wasn't something that she thought she could do or wanted to do. It sort of captured her, like willfully.
Yeah.
And it is was scary because she hadn't done it and didn't feel competent. That's always engaging. I think most people, and probably yourself, are you're hoping to not write the same article over and over again. I'm hoping to not play the same scene over and over again. And Carrie, like any writer, probably was looking for something that energized her in a new way professionally. And I think it was also a very clever device to get narration back and to use that story of the Victorian era woman.
Yeah.
You know, is it a parallel life to something that Carrie's experience are those her experiences? Are those the woman's? It's just an
Yeah.
interesting way of pushing a story around too.
Yeah, I think it's really beautifully wrought. Um, I want to ask you a little bit larger question. It's you know, been the central love story of Sex and the City and just like that, but this idea of sisterhood, and I think we get to see this so beautifully without giving it away in this moment where Charlotte has been holding something within and can't keep it in anymore when she sees Carrie, and that's, I think, really true friendship. Would you
Mm.
talk about the importance of telling that story, the the friendship story?
Yeah, I think that's one of the fundamentals of the show is the ways in which those friendships are, so necessary, and the ones, they just shows the ways in which we rely upon our grown-up families. We've all said it so many times, but the family you choose and the way you conduct those relationships is much more of your own. You're a child for a long time and you're a sibling, and then you're a grown-up and you're trying to create a rich life that has meaning, and the friendships are a critical part of a life well spent.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that therefore it's easy to tell your intimate friends things that are painful or scary or private, but but the difference when you are able to, the kind of comfort that provides
Yeah.
is just it's huge, and it just takes care of so many wounds, and I think people just simply feel better. And so Charlotte finally telling Carrie must be an enormous relief to her, because she also knows that that information is safe and there's discretion around that kind of secret and sharing that kind of information.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And I am with the Advocate, which is LGBTQ plus media. So, and we just did our cover with Cynthia, which was really,
Beautiful.
oh,
Didn't
thank
she post it? She
yeah,
posted
yeah,
it. Yeah. There were
yeah,
a bunch of pictures.
yeah. She
Yeah, it
looks
was
incredible.
great.
Um, so I want to be sure I ask you, because this universe of which you've been the such an integral central piece has always told queer stories, and here we are telling them again at a time when some queer people are being told that our stories don't matter, and telling them with joy. Would you talk about what that means to you to be a part of this storytelling, especially at a time like we're living in?
I always felt so grateful that the show had found, I'm going to say, sisterhood and fraternity and companionship fairly early on with the LGBTQ plus community, that there was a natural affinity and affection made sense to me. And we were really grateful. Really, like it meant a great deal to us. And it's sort of hard to address this particular chapter in our history right now, talking about our show, because I feel like it diminishes actually the kind of very consequential pain that this community is feeling and experiencing. But the ways in which we can talk about this community and its integration in the lives of these characters on the show, in the ways in which they are real, is wonderful, because that's the way we do exist in this world. That is the far bigger story, is that we are part of each other's lives. And the idea that we've somehow been able to suggest or diminish the roles that these people in this community have played in so many millions of lives that people aren't even aware of. It's not only a great disservice and deeply hurtful, obviously, but it's a cruel swipe, and it's unfortunate for those who are doing it.
Yes.
You know, I hope that we're being good to our brothers and sisters and friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, it's a peculiar thing about anger and hostility being so loud. I hope that is not eclipsing the affection that we feel will, in fact, be victor.